Welcome back to Movies TV Man. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Maybe it's better you don't ask them. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. You can follow me on Instagram, Movies TV Mad X, and on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Henry Cavill, the greatest, one of the greatest, best Superman of all time. Only in the 21st century could there be discourse and debate whether Henry Cavill is a great Superman. He is. No debate. He is a great Superman. So of course, the dumbest studio in Hollywood were plotting to remove him as Superman. Well, one moment, so basically it all kicked off after Justice League. Henry wasn't happy with what they did to him, his upper lip. It was a fucking mess. And so there was discourse between Henry and the studio. So at first there was a corner, mainly Walter Hamada, who wanted to use Henry's Superman as this Nick Fury figure that just appears in a cameo form, in post-credit scenes or whatever, as this kind, as I say, this Nick Fury kind of figure. That's it. No Superman movies. Cavill didn't like the idea. So he worked with the director of Mission Impossible Fallout to come up with a Superman movie. With what Warner Brothers Pictures did straight away was reject that move. It was checkmate. Then they decided to get rid of Cavill and swap him for an Elseworld Superman of colour. Produced by J.J. Abrams, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. By the way, that film's still, after 4 or 5 years, in active development. The dumbest studio in Hollywood, no matter who runs them. But what is the truth of the Henry Cavill situation? I can tell you this. The day Zaslav and Gunn and Safran reversed the decision to bring Cavill back was the moment that their DC Universe plan was never going to see the light of day. I've mentioned before, this is not just Snyderverse stands pushing back on this decision. Cavill has millions and millions of fans as Superman around the world. Fact. And all these fans have pushed back. But what's the truth? What was the plan with bringing back Henry Cavill? I believe the plan was not to bring him back wholeheartedly as the main Superman. He was never going to be James Gunn's Superman. The plan was to have him as Superman in the Black Adam cinematic universe. The Rock had huge plans. The reason The Rock was able to do this big deal, create this coup, where finally we could see Henry Cavill in a post-credit scene as Superman, a brilliant, perfect post-credit scene that people cried about because they were using the John Williams Superman theme. Can't we just enjoy anything? Not in today's world, of course. But anyway, I believe that was the plan, to have Cavill's Superman part of the Black Adam cinematic universe. Because that's what The Rock wanted to do, create his own corner in the DC universe. Now, considering Gunn's got his own plans, and clearly he didn't want Cavill as Superman, nor did WB Pictures in DC Universe, what would have been wrong for The Rock to have his own Black Adam universe? There was rumours of spin-offs on Max, movies, a Superman versus Black Adam movie, or maybe a Justice League versus Black Adam movie. Who knows? As I say, The Rock was teasing some amazing things. James Gunn has officially announced the DC Elseworlds, where we've got Phillips' Joker universe and Reeves' The Batman universe kind of situated. Just a place, basically, as far as I'm concerned, where they can dump those brilliant auteurs' movies. But the irony is they're the only DC movies and the only DC directors right now with any legitimacy, and they've been dumped in a little corner. But as I say, why couldn't, the Black Adam cinematic universe be part of the DC Elseworlds? You could have had elements of the Snyderverse in there as well, which I think they were planning to do. You could have had, as I say, Henry Cavill's Superman there. Everyone would have been happy. Because, of course, it's not an ideal situation to have two Batmen, to have two Supermen. I get that. And of course, they were still planning on this black Superman of colour, produced by J.J. Abrams and written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And God knows what idiot was going to direct that movie. That film's still in active development. I don't think it will ever see the light of day. So, as I say, the decision to remove Cavill, to reverse that decision, sealed James Gunn's fate. James Gunn can't even go on Twitter anymore without being attacked. So he's on other platforms. But basically, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is the place to be. At the end of the day, Fred's, I mean, that's where Gunn is. Fred's mostly. And Fred's is a poor man's Twitter. Look, basically, the people who start accounts on Fred's are like people who go on Instagram anyway. There's no point on just being on Instagram as a creative. You need to be on Twitter if you want to promote yourself, if you want to promote your movies. And James Gunn has created himself a bit of a problem. It wasn't just that he reversed the decision to bring back Henry Cavill. The point is, it's the way he was talking about Snyderverse stands, calling them a toxic fandom. As a creative, you've got to be far removed from these little fights. No matter what people say about you, you've got to remove yourself. It's why Stephen Moffat removed himself from Twitter when he was getting death threats and ridiculous things like that when he was running Doctor Who. But Moffat did cross the line as well as a creative. He kept on waving the red rag, as James Gunn has been doing. They don't understand their place. You are the waiter, delivering the food, the content. These people these days don't know when to shut the fuck up. And that's the real problem. So James Gunn got a bit overconfident and too bullshit about his own popularity and how he ranks as a creative in this day and age. But it goes deeper than that. Because when we're cataloguing the best writer-directors of all time in entertainment, James Gunn won't even be in the top 30. And that is the truth. And that's not me being nasty. They made a terrible decision. Right, listen, you've brought him, it's a bit like giving Snyder the director's job of Man of Steel and BVS. Him having a plan and going, now we'll just recycle his universe and get rid of him. It'll be fine. No, it won't be fine. You brought back Henry Cavill, so you needed to remain faithful to that decision. And as I say, the whole idea from the beginning was just to use Cavill in the Black Adam cinematic universe. So Gunn could have still cast his own Superman. When you've got difficult decisions like the Snyderverse versus like the rest of DC and things like that, you've got to find a peaceful solution. But WB refused to do this. And every time they make another toxic, bad decision, like the reversal of bringing Cavill back, they create more problems. Because in the end, your customers are your boss. I've said this many times on this platform, you're not in charge. We are. If we boycott your movies, which is happening, flop after flop for the DCEU, the remaining movies in the DCEU. Of course there's a damn boycott. Do you think if Cavill wasn't removed and that decision to bring him back wasn't reversed, those films wouldn't have been at least a little bit more successful? Of course they would have. I've made that point on Twitter before. So you've created a situation. You've shackled yourself now. You've made enemies of every Henry Cavill Superman fan. And as I said earlier, he has millions of fans around the world. There were better ways of dealing with this. But the truth of the matter is, we don't even know if DC Universe will ever see the light of day. That's not wishful thinking from my perspective. I'm just saying it how I see it. These strikes, let's be clear, these strikes may last for a year, 2 years, because this is a deep-rooted situation. Hollywood has huge problems, I've said before. This is not just about money. or AI. Hollywood, the studios want to remove these fundamentalists, these extremists from the industry. That's why they're laying back, smoking cigars, allowing this to play out. But reversing the decision to bring back Henry Cavill was the biggest misstep a studio has ever made. And they're paying for it. And they will continue to pay for it.